Now, as we mentioned, Vice Admiral David Johnston has been named as the country's next Chief of the Defence Force. But Johnston avoided some tough questions during his address today.
China, what sort of challenge or threat does it pose to Australia? And secondly, do you support stripping medals and decorations from soldiers involved in the war crimes investigation?
I think the government's view on our international security will become clear when the National Defence Strategy announcements are made, so I will leave that for that opportunity, and I'll also leave the second question. Thanks.
There were also reports in the Fin Review today that the top jobs at AFP, ASIO, the ASD, that's the Signals Directorate, and Border Force are all going to become vacant, most likely in the next few months. We've been reporting on this here on this show as well. Let's bring in now Strategic Analysis Australia Director Michael Shoebridge. Michael, great to see you. Look, let's start with this new Defence Chief appointment. It's a major role. Is Johnston the man that Australia needs right now at a time of increasing volatility in our region?
Well, Sharri, unfortunately, I don't think so. He is the continuity candidate. So if you think that Australia's defence organisation has been going in the right direction and moving to address critical problems like its recruitment crisis or the fact we don't have a Navy ship we can send to the Red Sea, then he's a good choice. But if you think the last 6 years have been a time of drift, inaction and missed opportunity, then the continuity candidate, who's been the Vice Chief for this time, looks a bad choice.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Look, we've discussed, I think even you and I before, how the ASIO boss, Mike Burgess, also Andrew Shearer, who heads the entire intelligence community here in Australia, both those roles are going to come up in the next year or so. The Fin Review also reporting that the top jobs at the AFP, the ASD and Border Force are going to fall vacant. How worried are you that it's going to be Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong and others like them who are going to be the ones, this Labor government, choosing the replacements for these critical positions when we know already that they've diverted the attention of people like Andrew Shearer to do a climate change review instead of just worrying about terrorism?
Well, Sharri, my main concern is the silencing of any critical voice or advice to ministers, so that a pushing back of the ASIO and ASIS chiefs from the National Security Committee, hearing Admiral Johnston today say he'll leave answering questions to the government and to future times, this silencing of senior serious voices really worries me. For example, when's the last time you heard a defence official, or indeed any senior official, talk critically about China? They've been muzzled by the ministers.
That's such a good point. They're not speaking critically about China, all but silent. It's a very occasional rebuke. And yet we hear criticism every day about our supposed ally, Israel.
Well, yes. So it took visiting UK ministers a couple of weeks ago to tell us the reason we're getting nuclear submarines is we want to deter China from starting a war. And this is the kind of problem. If you cannot have a serious public discussion because you can't name your security problems, how can we expect officials to address them?
Yeah, exactly. Right, Michael Shoebridge, thank you so much. Really appreciate your insights as always.